Good morning, everybody. Okay, so like to have the first session now. So probably should do a good job. Right? All the more required to do a good job on that. Okay. So when I got the invite for this session, right, I think Ravi had spoken to me saying that can you come over, and I was like, it would be a privilege. Right? And then he sent me the link to the schedule, and I opened the schedule and saw that my session title and everything's already been decided. Right? It's called How Simplilearn Had Growth. Right? So Ravi did try to ask me if I can change it, but then I after some time decided that it's okay. Let me take it this way. Let the session title be what the audience feels is the right thing I should talk about. Though I did add something because I could not kind of control my urge to talk about 2-3 things which I am very interested in talking about. So I added a A and a B. Right? So A is is the session that I am supposed to talk about, and I also talk about a couple of experiences I had in digital marketing, which is primarily counterintuitive. So the basic learnings that I had, which are very counterintuitive, is what I'll talk about. Okay, so I have only 2 slides. So for Simplilearn, right, it is important for all of us to know what Simplilearn is, right? In order if I have to talk about how it had growth, how it grew a lot, right? So how many of you know Simplilearn? Okay. And I'm sure like that is about I think 20% of the audience. A lot of you may not have heard about Simplilearn. Right? So Simplilearn is primarily an education and a training company. Right? So the moment I say that, there will be certain amount of either perception or views everybody will have, right? What Simplilearn does. There are a fair number of players in this space. Right? So I'll try to go through questions with you guys, and then I'll try to build the discussion on everybody understand what Simplilearn is, right? So if it's an education and training company, whom do you think we do education and training for?
Everyone.
Okay. Okay. So obviously, who knows Simplilearn should not answer these questions. Because otherwise, yeah. But I'm asking you, what is the okay? Everyone, working professionals, students. So when you say students, you are thinking about K-12. We're thinking about.
I don't want K-12.
We're talking about K-12. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? So Simplilearn is focused on working professionals. Right? So one of the key things, my overall summary will be that the real growth of Simplilearn has come from the fundamental business model. Right? It is no specific thing that we have done. Right? It's a fundamental business model which is very different for Simplilearn. So I'll go about the various dimensions, which are the 5 dimensions I'll talk about here, one by one, and we'll go through why all of these dimensions put together give automatically a high growth scenario for the company. Right? So you're focused on working professionals. Right? So why do you think we are focused on working professionals?
They can pay you.
Yes, right. So anybody else? That is one reason.
They can pay.
Yep. Okay.
Time constraint.
Explain that more. I'm sorry.
Working professionals don't have time to go and into classroom or attend sessions. Possibly time constraint for them. And this provides, I don't know if it provides an online.
Okay. So I think that will bring me to second question. So what? Sorry, your name. So what Sudeep was saying is that because working professionals have time constraints, and since we are probably an online company, therefore they will be able to absorb an online material. Right? So first, the right answer to the first question is that's question on working professionals. Yes, working professionals is a class of people who are willing to pay. Right? They have an earning. Right? So we have targeted working professionals. By design, we don't target students at all. Right? So because when you're targeting students, while you can probably build a large, I'll say a large market, right? Your time to get to ROI, your time to get to a willingness to pay, so WTP is willingness to pay. So right now, in a way, we're talking about point number 4, right? So the willingness to pay will be very low, right? So by the design of the model, we have always targeted working professionals. So that is one of the fundamental point number 1, which has helped us grow. Because when we're targeting working professionals, chances of getting payment out of them is much higher as long as we are able to deliver something, right? While in the case of students, all of us have been students, all of us know that students will always talk about what you can get for free. Right? So we as a business model did not want to go there. Right or wrong, but our focus was that. Okay. So that brings me to training modes. So what do you think we are doing in training modes? Typically in the market there are multiple training modes. Online learning is what you're talking about, right? So what do you think Simplilearn does? What kind of trainings we do? Do we do online training? Do we do classroom training? Or do we do any third kind of trainings?
I would think that as a pure guest, you're probably doing online live training.
Okay, so that is the third model. So it can be a pure classroom, it can be a pure online, it can be a live classroom. We call it live classroom, just in our terminology. So you're saying we are probably doing live classroom. Okay? Anybody else?
Video based.
Say it again.
Video based. Basically,
That is similar to live classroom. Okay? What else?
on demand. On demand.
On demand. In what mod? In what mode? Like when you do when somebody. Sorry, go ahead.
As and when I need.
Let us say you need the training now. So will you get it in a classroom? Will you get it in a live environment, or will you get it in a online?
Online.
Online. Okay. So the answer to this question is we are doing all three modes. Right? So we do online self-learning trainings, we do live classroom, and we do classrooms. So for that matter, we run about 200 classrooms every month. I think it is more. I'm just trying to be conservative. Every month across at least 25 countries. Right? So Simplilearn runs that much amount of classrooms every month across 25 countries. Right?
Physical classroom?
Physical classrooms. Classrooms like this, obviously much lesser audience. Classrooms like this. Right? So training modes, we have done all three. Right? That brings me to geographies. So I think that kind of gives you an idea that what geographies are we focused on. We focused on almost all geographies, right? We're working on 25 countries. Right? Obviously US is big, India is big, right? There are few other geographies which are big, right? But we focused across 25 countries every month, and over the last 2 years we have covered at least 150 countries. So you will see it on the top of our webpage also, 150 plus countries. So we don't cover 150 every month, but over a period of time, 25 is a conservative number, we typically cover 50 plus. 150 we have covered over a period of 2 years. So in a way,
So Gagan, can we ask questions now or later?
yeah, give me 1 second. So in a way, what I was saying is that in training modes, we do all three. So we have straddled across all the training modes. We have straddled across all the geographies, almost all the geographies are relevant. We have, in TG, we have focused on that kind of TG, target audience, which is clearly has money to pay, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned about getting to 150 countries in 2 years, right? So do you actually have physical salespeople in these countries, or you did it through online marketing, or how did you do it?
It's a mix of both. So we do various things. They're physical as well as non-physical setup. Right? All those.
So my assumption
Because if you have run a classroom training, you need to have something physical, right? So we do have something physical there. That's why we are able to run the classroom there.
So are these like leased out offices, or you have your own offices in these locations, 150 odd locations?
So there, yeah, we do not have 150 plus physical registered offices, but there are places we conduct trainings which are working with us, right? Some of them may be registered offices. Registered office has a lot of regulatory and all those things, right? Some way we have used it, some way we have not used it. Right?
So where I'm heading to is now, how did you, these companies reach out to you, or you reached out to them to actually open up?
So there are no companies, we do it. Yeah,
Fair.
sorry.
So did you, so how do you identify these 150 countries, and how did you figure out that you want to open up in these countries?
Okay. So we will. So can I park this and answer it a little later? So I'll answer this question. Right? So I'll come to the course catalog. Then I'll probably will be easier to answer the question once we have covered the rest. So course catalog. So what are the kind of courses we cover? How many courses we might be doing?
350.
10. Somebody said 350. Who said 350? Okay.
You just Google it.
Anybody else? Any inputs? Any thoughts? 100. Okay. So we are right now at 200, and we have a target to get to 350, and that is I was surprised with that number. The target on our radar right now is to get to 350 very fast. Right? So we are getting into 350 courses, right? So that is again a very, very large set of courses, right? If you look at most of our competitors across India and across the world, none of them have gone through, straddled across all these spaces in each of the dimensions, right? We do all training modes, we do all countries, we do 300 courses. And having said that, if we go to course selection, what courses we do? Do we do any course? Can you get any course on Simplilearn? Is it a MOOC? So all of you understand what is MOOC, right? Massive open online courses, I think, right? So is Simplilearn a MOOC? Is it like a Coursera for India? What do you think what Simplilearn does? What is the course? What kind of courses we do?
It's more like development certification course.
Okay.
So I'm assuming since you're saying working professionals, you're assuming it's relevant to them.
Yeah.
In their growth career, so it's probably some technology, some management, and some combination thereof.
Okay.
Some skill development.
Okay. You say it again. I can't hear you. From the back. Okay. So we have selected certification courses. So you seem to know us very well, right? So we do certification courses. Why do we do certification courses, right? Because in the market right now, why will any working professional spend $10,000, $15,000 in India or $1,200 in US to do even a classroom training with us? Why will they spend so much money? Will you pay 15,000 rupees to do a classroom course of 4 days? Why? Only because there has to be a very clear benefit of it, right? So right now, if you look at one of the big markets is IT, right? All of the in the IT services world, a lot of the clients as well as the services providers like Infy and many others would want their employees to be certified, and the certifications are often through the requirements of clients, right? So all of these certifications are required for them to do client servicing. It is required for them to get their employees ready for this client servicing, and they have to get their monthly billing, right? And also because you can't send your employees to universities again and again, right? So we are targeting certification courses. There is a very clear benefit. You get certified. So if you get, so one of the biggest courses we were doing earlier was PMP, right? All of us probably are aware what is the value of PMP, right? You get PMP certified. It's a very big CV item, right? You are able to get probably higher salaries. You are able to go on site. It's a very big thing in a large part of the IT services companies, right? That also ties up with WTP, it's a willingness to pay. The willingness to pay of people on a free online course will be very low, right? Given that now we have MOOCs and so on, how many people will be willing to pay to get something on a course? Everything is available on video lectures, right? Or similar kinds of video lectures, right? There has to be a very, very specific benefit that we do, right? So we are focused on high ticket items, 10 to 12,000, 15,000, 20,000 in India, $1,200 kind of courses outside in US, right? We are focused on all training modes. We are focused, so we are not focused in a way, right? In training mode we do everything, geographies we do everything, but we are focused in the area where we get money. The place where we have built a focus is the place we get money. We don't, while in other areas we are doing everything else. Most of the, I think most of the industry in education and training has not gone about this path. They have gone about a different path. That path has its own value, but that is probably a long-term path, right? A lot of the companies I have seen focus only on live virtual classroom. Some of them only focus on online self-learning. Some of them only focus on US, right? And some of them only focus on 3 courses, right? And then some of them are doing for everybody, from K-12 to students to working professionals, right? So when we don't focus in the money area, while we start focusing in your product lines, your growth will not be as fast. So we have a multi-crore monthly revenue right now, and with an enviable bottom line, right? Primarily because of this, right? That we have always focused on the right areas in terms of business. That is what we believe, right? The last thing in this is content ownership. So we do not have any content delivered by our trainers, right? All the content is built in-house. We spend $50,000 plus per course to build very to the extent possible very good quality subject matter expert content across the world through level 2, level 3 instructional design methodology and so on. So I don't want to talk more because we'll be selling Simplilearn after this. So, but bottom line is that we still own our content, and we make sure that we focus on these areas and focus on one side of areas and don't focus on the other side of the areas. Right? That is how we have built the whole business, right? So one of the questions I get a lot on this topic whenever I talk about this is that typically if you work in any startup, in any growth industry right now, I've always heard from most of the CXOs is that focus, right? Don't do everything. Do one country, do one course, build in that course, right? A lot of questions people ask me that if you do so many models, it gets very complex, right? You have to run a classroom training. Running classroom training across 200 workshops across 25 countries. You have a live classroom that also has its own infrastructure setup, right? You have to build so many online self-learning. Parallelly, you're doing 200 plus courses, right? Obviously, there is a huge management overhead. We are a 600 people company right now. So it's a very, very large firm in terms of number of people, right? But my experience has been that this management overhead, the overall cost and complexity of management overhead, and which I think is counterintuitive, is not as complex as getting ROI in the market, right? This helps us get ROI. Okay, yeah, so this helps us get ROI, right? Because the moment you want to go deeper into one area, you start hitting diminishing returns significantly, right? So tomorrow if I want to run a particular training at a particular level and I want to do more marketing, I will start hitting diminishing returns, right? Getting first 20 traffic or first 20 leads is much easier, but the second 20 is more expensive. The next 20 is more expensive, right? So that is that again, I'm not saying that we're going to work for all industries and all places, but for us, the diminishing return is not hitting, right? In every course, in every area, we do the minimum which gets us the ROI, right? And we're able to build that. So that is my understanding. So I'm fairly new to Simplilearn, 6 months into Simplilearn. But that is what my understanding is, that we have been able to get ROI, and that is why we have a good bottom line. Right? So I just take your question now, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
So my question was that when you expanded to these 150 odd countries, how did you identify these 150 odd countries? And how did you reach out to the audience in these countries?
Okay. So in terms of reaching out, obviously online has been the primary source. We have used various online channels to reach out to people. Selecting the countries has been based on a lot of...
Which channels?
So the standard channels, email is one channel, search is one channel, right? Affiliates is a channel. So we use almost all the online channels, right? So all the channels are there, but search is a good starting point, right? Search is typically a good starting point, and email is a second good starting point to identify these countries. Right? For example, Prince2, right? It is very easy for anybody to find out if you go to something as simple as Google Trends that Prince2 does not have much of a market in US. It's primarily a European stuff, while PMP is a US stuff, right? Canada still has some amount of Prince2, but US, if you start trying to sell Prince2, you will never get good ROI. We only conduct 1 or 2 classrooms in Prince2 in US. Well, we conduct much more in UK, and it's the other way around for PMP. Right? So even the search traffic results will give you some of this. Some of this obviously has been built through a lot of iterations. We tried out things, then we saw, and then it moved forward. But we use some of these methodologies to find out which country will work for what. Focus on certification has helped us keep our focus, right? So there are not many things in the market which have certifications, and there are not many things in the market where the certifications are valued. Right? Because not all certifications, so for example, to be honest, AdWords certification today, I don't think anybody will pay for. It has become a very, very simple course and anybody can walk in and do it, right? So there are only few certifications which have a particular value in the market because the working professionals value it and it helps them in move up in career. Right? So that is how we have been able to identify. So identifying courses has been relatively easy, right? We don't have to get into 10,000, 20,000 courses. Right?
In terms of growth, you said that you want to move from 250 to associates, right? And you also said that you're getting content in-house.
Yeah, that's correct.
I've often heard it's a chicken egg story that you create content first and then market it because you spend a lot of intelligence and quality. I would assume content creation takes time.
That's correct.
You're spending upfront money.
Anybody asking questions,
That's
please
correct.
ask in the mic. So that everybody
How much time we have?
We have another 5.
Okay.
So my question is, let's assume you're creating a content, or are you marketing first and saying that, look, hey, we're coming out with certain content or course and creating a demand generation. So which way do you do? Do you first market and understand the demand generation, or do you create a content and then go back?
So we almost always create content first. Right? The only thing is that the first round of contents can be sometimes quickly done. Right? For example, if we have to run a classroom, you need to work with a couple of trainers, right? And if you get some very good trainers on board to start with, they'll help you build the first round of content. Right? But we always spend money on content first. And the demand we do based on our forecasting, and then we take that risk and move in.
Can you ignore that there is no risk involved, that any content money which you invest in content creation can always not give you an ROI? It can actually,
Yeah,
not
that is
be a
true.
great-
It may not always give us an ROI. That is true. But for example, when I move from 200 to 350, then I'm not spending $50,000 per course. Not at this stage, right? Initially, you'll spend maybe 10,000, and you will start, and then you will start scaling up the course.
Can you speak a little about brand evangelizing? I mean, I know these days a lot of services, traditional services are going online. So I take Simply Learn More as an executive program, what an IIM or an IT long time might be doing. Education is still a touch and feel thing. People want to understand the credentials of the trainer and how good they are. So how do you basically address the brand evangelizing concept that, look, regardless whether you do an offline model, the content which comes out is credible and it still has some value to it, other than the marketing? I'm not talking of marketing.
So one thing is that we have never sold we have never marketed our trainers. We've always marketed our content, process building, the content cost, and so on. So most of our evangelizing has been about the quality of our content. So that is how we have gone about it. Does that answer, or do you want to? We can take offline more details, but
Okay.
yeah, there are so many more questions.
So
My question is around the certification process. How do you decide whether the certification actually has value in the market, and then who is the certification agency?
Okay, so certification agencies are not us, right? So we have only done courses and trainings around certification which are already there and well known. For example, PMP was an example, right? So PMI is a well-known certification body, and it is very, very valued. So it is not that difficult to find out which are the valued certifications. I have 10 friends in some of these technology companies, they will tell me. My brother-in-law himself told me that we should do TOGAF, right? And we have launched TOGAF, not only on his input, but then we did more research, and we found that TOGAF is actually has as much potential as PMP. PMP is one of our large courses, right? So we launched TOGAF about a couple of weeks back, and we are heavily focusing on making it big, right? So it's not that difficult to find out top courses. So the focus on top courses helps us. It makes it easy to find courses, right? If I focus on long tail, it's very difficult. Top courses are always big enough that even through your network you will be able to find out.
Here.
Which way should
Right.
Whoever has the mic.
Yeah, Mike is here.
Okay.
Right. I like to ask about digital marketing. So, how are you calculating the impact of digital marketing you're making for? What is the reach of digital marketing? How do you calculate it?
So the impact is a very open thing, right? So we do. There is nothing rocket science we do on digital marketing right now. Primarily, we do the standard search, standard email. We do a lot of drip marketing, and based on whatever CPCs we have and cost per lead, and then we have a conversion rate. So what is the specific thing you're trying to talk about?
Specific thing in the sense, you are doing digital marketing, right? So you are just going for CPC or any other methods you are following. So apart from CPC, if you are following any other methods, so you'll be calculating what is the reach of your marketing, digital marketing, online.
So we are doing all the other methods also.
Maybe probably blogging or contenting
Okay,
or any other kind of things.
So we are trying a lot to get into content marketing in a much bigger way.
Exactly. So how do you calculate this particular content marketing? It has
It's
this
difficult to
particular-
calculate, right? So I am with you on that. It's very difficult to calculate, right? So we do not get too deep into calculating at a granular level, to be honest.
So
we
you-
calculate at a larger level.
Okay.
Yes.
So you use social media also for digital marketing.
Yes, very much.
So there's no metrics for calculating.
Why not?
So you have something.
Yes. Okay. So the social media PPC we calculate. So the standard social media, which is more about community building, there's hardly any metric to calculate. So we focus a very small amount of money and energy there, and we just keep it going. It is still some time when we can build business out of it.
We'll take one more.
Sure.
Which is your
I'm available. I'm supposed to be here from 11.
Available for the one-on-one with the speaker right after this.
Sure.
As long as he wants to.
So my
take-
second slide I could not cover. So I'll cover that in one-on-ones, right? Yeah.
which is your
There's nothing much because I've just written bullets and I just want to talk about it. I mostly talk about business. So I have found that landing page should not be aligned to search term, right? So it's a very, very counterintuitive thing. So that is why I wanted to talk about. I found that you can get cues from SEO for display. So how SEO can be related to Google display is what I have found something. I have seen that DSA is working a lot for constantly changing content. These are 2-3 things that I have found, right? I just want to discuss that, but we can take it offline because there's no time now. One last.
How are you getting, which is your primary mode or channel through which you're being discovered? Is it organic through search, or is it primarily word of mouth, or does your partners, for example, Infi internally promotes it, or sort of when you partner with Infi, any course which their employees are taking, you are the only vendor through which they have to take? How do people discover you primarily?
Referral is a very, very big channel for discovery.
Okay.
Paid search is a big channel for discovery.
Okay.
Organic continues to be. Right? So organic, paid search, referral as in not referral traffic, not the referral traffic on GA, referral as in real referral
Recommendation, word of
yeah,
mouth.
yeah. The referral is a very, very big channel for our industry
Okay.
in general because this is a high ticket item, right? You can't buy a
Do you
400
do
rupee
anything to
t-shirt here.
basically
It's
aid
10,000,
that
12,000
or hack that part, or to naturally promote people to refer or recommend stuff?
Yeah,
Do
so
you
we have a
incentivize
referral
that part?
program. We do a lot of referral programs online, offline.
Okay.
Everybody in sales calls up every customer to refer more people, and there's so much of what we call promotions we do around referrals, right? So referral has been a very, very big channel for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you also
And
have
therefore
some
customer
incentive
experience is
system
key.
tied to it.
Say it again, sorry.
Do you also have some incentive system tied
Very
to it?
strong incentive system. So we have recently given out Kindles to n number of referrals. The latest Kindle. We are giving out iPhone 6s for you in US, right? So referral is very, very big.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Gagan. Please,
Thanks for bearing with
a
me.
very insightful session. We look forward to your one-on-one. If you guys have any specific queries,
Thanks.
contact Subhendu after the next session, and then he'll do one-on-one. All right. Thanks
Sure,
so much.
sure. Thanks, Avi. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.